reduced the most for the highest income brackets. This government is being absolutely aggressive regarding the so-called competitiveness of our tax system. What are the implications of this approach, Mr. Speaker? What exactly has been the result of the tax changes that this government has made? Mr. Speaker, when we get to the end of this fiscal year, the average benefit to the wealthiest people in this province will be an annual tax cut of $25,500. The tax break for those in the middle income bracket will be a small fraction of that, while there is nothing new at all for the poorest taxpayers. So who is this government favoring, Mr. Speaker? Who is really being favored by this plan? Is it people who feel the effects of poverty, or is it people who benefit from the effects of wealth? I think the answer is obvious, Mr. Speaker. The government started on the right track with the lowest bracket of income taxpayers when they changed the income tax rate for them in Budget 2008. However, the government stopped there. What they should have done is put in place a policy of no income tax for anyone with an income under the poverty line. Such a policy, Mr. Speaker, would go a long way to reducing poverty. Now, that's a plan, Mr. Speaker. That's a vision for poverty reduction. No income tax for people with incomes under the poverty line. In order to really reduce poverty, there must be real changes to our whole social and economic system, Mr. Speaker. Poverty is the result of inequality caused by high unemployment, low wages, inequitable tax regimes, low education levels, gender inequality, and discrimination on many levels. It is not enough for this government to say that it is reducing poverty by bringing the minimum wage up to $10 an hour, while at the same time giving tax breaks to corporations and wealthy individuals. Those tax breaks take away from program spending that is needed in the real fight against poverty, Mr. Speaker. According to the estimates document, this province is going to receive an extra $308 million this year in equalization and offsets revenue from the federal government. I would have hoped, Mr. Speaker, that this increase in revenue would be used as investment in education and health. I have to ask the government if it is accidental that this amount almost equals the $332 million cut to corporate income tax, or did government plan the cuts to income tax based on the increase in federal monies? The money coming from the federal government, Mr. Speaker, is meant to give the people of this province equal access to health care and education, our right under the Canadian Charter of Rights and Freedoms. It is not meant to allow government to give tax breaks to those who don't need them. Mr. Speaker, the government says that it is offering tax breaks in order to bring skilled workers and professionals to this province. Mr. Speaker, I point out to the government that if there are jobs in this province that pay salaries on a par with other parts of the country, workers will come, especially if they are workers originally from the province who have had to leave the province to find work and who want the quality of life offered here at home for them in this province. Changing our tax regime to the point where we are losing income needed to pay for services to the population of the province is not going to benefit the people of the province in the long run. If the government continues in this direction, we shall continue to have deficit budgets that are not necessary. I have no problem with deficit budgets, but you have to show me that they are necessary and there is no other way to get the money. This government likes to point out, Mr. Speaker, that it is unlike the Conservative government of Canada in its policies. I say to this government that in actual fact they are very much like the Harper government. Cutting taxes and cutting programs is the direction in which the federal government has gone. I admit this government is not cutting programs, but it is not building the social infrastructure that is needed for our society to be healthy, an infrastructure that Canadians and other provinces enjoy. It is noteworthy that a budget news release from the government talks about supporting social infrastructure. I acknowledge that the items under that heading are all good. However, Mr. Speaker, I cannot read that list without wondering about what is missing. I have to ask, where is the money for a child care program under social infrastructure? Imagine if the money from the increase in equalization and offsets revenue were used to start a child care program instead of for tax breaks that benefit mainly corporations and wealthy individuals. We would have a program that employed many new workers, a program that permitted more parents to join the paid labor force,